One of the things that we did was that we directed our town manager to work with DM and the state stakeholders. And that was a direction from the council. I just want everyone to know that our town manager has been working diligently on that, and he's been doing a great job in making progress. So just because there's nothing on the agenda doesn't mean that things aren't moving forward or things aren't happening. I have the utmost faith and confidence in our town manager. And you know, obviously we don't always show our hands in poker, so we're also not doing that for this as well. So again, thank you, Mr. Tierney, for all the hard work that you've been doing. And I don't know if you'd want to elaborate on any of that.
Thank you, President Krasinski. I did the latest meeting I had, and also today I had a phone call with the director, and I met with the director last week on a variety of, a week and a half ago, I think it was, on a variety of issues, including Galilee, Monahan's Dock, and Galilee. Currently, there's no reveal at this juncture from Rhode Island DEM, but they continue to work on it, and we're going to try to meet on a monthly basis at least to continue to discuss it. I didn't think much was going to happen before the election anyway, but let's see where it goes from here.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the agenda. There's no public hearing tonight, so we will move on to open forum public comment for any item to speak on that is not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President and Council members, Town Manager, Town Solicitor, Town Planner, Mike DeLuca, and all honored guests. On Dr. Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, on December 20th, 2022, at the Narragansett Town Hall, the University of Rhode Island's architectural studio class, instructed by landscape architect Professor Will Green and landscape architect Charles Carberry, presented their research on how to revitalize Galilee and how to prevent the harmful consequences of greater and greater storms that are hitting us throughout the United States. The town agreed the URI study was of such great value that they decided to record the presentation and upload the presentation on YouTube. Thank you. Elected and appointed town officials were present, as well as several Rhode Island RIDEM, Rhode Island Department of Environmental Managers, officials. Our town planner, Mike DeLuca, publicly endorsed many of the ideas presented in the URI study. Thank you, Mike. The town of Narragansett's prior proposal for Galilee that was submitted to the RIDM supported many of the renditions presented. Yet the RIDM gave Narragansett's proposal the lowest rating of all submissions. We got to keep that in mind. The Friends of Galilee have also endorsed the mixed-use development for Galilee and fully supported the URI resiliency study. The FOG consists of several hundred concerned members who have dedicated many years of their life to better Galilee. Many showed up for a demonstration rally in Galilee and signed and contributed to an online petition to acknowledge their support for a mixed-use development and to voice their opposition to the harm the RIDM has allowed Procaccianti and Paolino to create in Galilee. As evidence of all of the above, people throughout the state of Rhode Island, and even outside of Rhode Island, have spoken out, been videotaped, created videos, thank you, Council President, signed and supported online petitions, attended rallies, and supported the URI resiliency study to let people realize that what's going on in Galilee, which has been condoned by the RIDM, needs to stop. The RIDM's action in Galilee is in direct contradiction to its mission statement on its website. Quote, our mission, put simply, is to protect, restore, and promote our environment to ensure Rhode Island remains a wonderful place to live, visit, and raise a family. Clearly, by looking at Galilee and the 5-acre parcel, which they were in control of and leased, the RIDM has completely failed in its mission, sadly. The Rhode Island AG's office opened 2 access to public records investigations on my behalf, but the RIDM failing to be transparent. If the AG's office felt there was no credibility in my appeal to its office for the lack of transparency from the RIDM, the investigations would never have been open. The governor has made it be known he has appropriated $46 million to revitalize and sustain Galilee by making improvements in its infrastructure. This allocation is an admission that he is aware action needs to be taken in Galilee to improve it. The town of Narragansett has already been on record to note street-level parking lots awarded to private developers that do not have a special use permit granted by the Town of Narragansett in violation of our Town of Narragansett's ordinances. The deadline for reply was 90 days, and it has passed. Was there a reply by any of these operators? If not, what action has the town taken? I want to thank you so much. We got to continue with this fight, and we all have seen what the RIDM and how they've treated our town in the past. But we can win this battle if we stand collectively and keep checks and balances in regards to what has been discussed today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Canavan? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me. I'm Catherine Canavan, 190 Clark Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. So this is to follow along with Dr. Alba in regards to Galilee. There are legal grounds and case precedents to stop RIDEM from violating the town's zoning ordinances and the town's comprehensive plans. One of the most recent examples of such litigation took place in New Shoreham on Block Island. Had the citizens of Block Island not continued to fight back against the illegal expansion of Champlin's Marina, the battle would have been lost. And Procaccianti and Paolino, who purchased the marina, would have been the biggest winners. Block Island and the fragile ecosystem of Great Salt Pond would have suffered and been the biggest losers. Is the town of Narragansett going to continue to fight for Galilee? Also, let us not forget, while the illegal expansion of Champlin's Marina would have hurt the fragile ecosystem of the Great Salt Pond, the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management was silent on trying to stop this expansion. To show and memorialize the fight the people of New Shoreham were up against, Jim Hummel, on the Hummel Report, created a video titled Blocked Out. You can find this on YouTube. It shows how corruption works in Rhode Island with respect to state agencies and political insiders trying to violate town laws, such as the ordinance that was against the illegal expansion of Champlin's Marina. In fact, 2 Coastal Resource Management board members had to resign, and the Rhode Island Attorney General's office determined that there was gross misconduct by the state agency. However, for the state Supreme Court to hear the case to overrule a retired court judge's decision approving the expansion of Champlin's Marina, the town and its residents had to hire out a private lawyer to fight the illegal expansion. Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management has repeatedly failed to act ethically by condoning gross violations of the Town of Narragansett's building and zoning ordinances. Are you going to act, or are we going to have to fight this on our own? Also, according to an article in Projo on December 26, 2022, Rhode Island has a surplus of $610 million. Will you call on our district legislators to make sure the monies allocated for Galilee are transferred as soon as possible? Thank you.
Anyone else? Gentlemen.
Thank you. Roger Jadis, 1 Blind Brook Drive. Galilee. The potential which exists for beneficial use of this land by revitalizing and promoting economic growth, tourism, maritime education, support of our local fishermen, small businesses in Galilee, and those who live and visit in Galilee has been wasted. How many years has it been? It's been wasted by the DEM for years by its gross mismanagement of the leased land in Galilee. As there is still electricity running and water leaking through the abandoned Lighthouse Inn, and there are obviously greatly compromised structural issues which create fire and electrical hazards, not to mention asbestos and mold, has Narragansett's fire chief and building inspector been called into action? Will the town be liable if any area business or individuals get hurt as a result of fire, or if somebody gets electrocuted who may be entering the building. There is evidence, as you can see in the photographs that we've handed out, that portions of the building are occupied. We are now demanding for the protection and safety of our community and the village of Galilee. Our building and fire inspector and the state fire marshal to be directed to the property tomorrow. Rhode Island does not have a state OSHA. My daughter and family come to visit almost every summer for the past 5 years. They've moved out of the state. My daughter used to lifeguard at Block Island, loves the area. And every time she comes, and she'll be coming this summer, she always asks, "Hey, Dad, what the heck is going on around here? This place looks like a dump." I'm referring to the Galilee area. I've explained to her just last summer the lease with Procaccianti, Paolino, and that situation. And she just shakes her head and says, "Dad, it's a dump. Nothing changes around here." So she says it's a nice place to visit, but she's out of state. Ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council, your actions and non-actions will speak louder than your words. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Yes, I don't know.
Hi. My name's Kristen Conley. I live at 100 Woodruff Avenue in Narragansett. And I'm going to speak about Galilee also.
Could you speak into the microphone a little? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll take my mask off. How's that better? Let me say it again. My name's Kristen Conley. I live at 100 Woodruff Avenue in Town of Narragansett. And I'm also going to speak on the same topic. And this is the first time I've done this, so be patient. But I'd like your attention. Be fooled not, this is no longer a debate. All the time that's been utilized debating what is an obvious need for action is allowing just further devastation in Galilee. If we waste much more time, trust me, a demolition isn't going to be necessary. The Lighthouse Inn is coming down, one way or another, one step closer to being on the ground every day. The devastation that will be rectified in Galilee calls for immediate action. Previous demands for action have gone unanswered, but not this one. Your failure to act will be considered your implied denial to do what your elected and/or appointed positions require of you. This issue is not just going to go away if that's what everybody thinks. Be assured that this issue does not just affect the village of Galilee or the town of Narragansett. It affects each and every resident of the state of Rhode Island in one capacity or another. And the fact that the state of Rhode Island and the Rhode Island DEM continue to allow corporations like Procaccianti companies and their subsidiaries and anyone to infiltrate our state at every level from coast to coast, all while allowing them to purposely and intentionally destroy public land and vital infrastructure on state-owned land managed by the Rhode Island DEM. They sit right next door and overseen by the town of Narragansett is completely unacceptable. It's why I'm at this podium. Rhode Island is the ocean state, right? So why is this vital, economical, natural, and recreational resource at the very southern tip of our state on the ocean not a priority to anyone? The permitted devastation and continuing destruction being allowed, resulting in permanent consequences for the environment, as well as the health and well-being of all Rhode Island residents, is completely unacceptable, and I'm not going to tolerate it. The current state of the village of Galilee is a direct result of your failure to act accordingly, even when petitioned to do so, and all who have and continue to do so will be held responsible. As I previously stated, it's not a debate anymore. There's no meetings or conversations to be had. Everybody knows what's going on down there. The DM is sitting next door every day. You'll no longer be permitted to hide behind your political curtains. The state of Rhode Island and the Rhode Island DEM have failed us. Their past, present, and ongoing negligence and combined failure to act in regards to the Lighthouse Inn and Village of Galilee is a blatant act of failure. So I ask, is our town going to fail us too? You do have choices. The train's leaving the station. You can continue to stand on the tracks, but you're going to get run over. Or you can stand on the platform, take a look at the pictures, see what's going on, and when the doors open tonight, you can board and ride, or you can get left on the platform. Either way, the train's leaving the station. And I'm going to ask each and every one of you what you're going to do. Can I welcome you aboard, Steve, Sue, Eva, Jill, and Deb? Or are you going to stand on the platform? Because I'll tell you what, no one started the clock, so I don't know how much time I have left. But I took the pictures, and you're right, Verizon was down today. So there were a lot more to go with them, and I have them. There are 2 dead seagull carcasses this big sitting in the parking lot, and the wildlife won't even eat them. I grew up at Galilee Beach Club as a child. I can trace my ancestry back to the Santa Maria. My husband's ancestry goes back, he was the first postmaster on Block Island. My mother-in-law grew up in Southeast Lighthouse. My father-in-law was a long-line swordsman. They came from New Shoreham, they settled, they raised their family. We're still living in that house with my mother-in-law. It's disgusting. Standing in the parking lot is scary. It's awful. I have a lot more pictures that didn't get published because of it.
Thank you. Does anyone?
Unanimously to write a letter, to ask the council to write a letter of objection. This is the 3rd time we're seeing this application in some form, and what the issue is safety. Where this area is, there's a lot of boat traffic that goes by there, so when this originally was granted, the town didn't object as long as there was never going to be floating gear there, and so it was approved. They came again in, I think, 2020, asking for floating gear. The harbor master objected. We have a couple letters, I think, was included in the information. They heading towards East Pond that way. They go through that area. Yeah. So with it just packed with gear, it's going to discourage people from traveling through there.
So it's dangerous to kayakers and anybody who's paddling anything. That's because they're trying to stay out of the channel.
Correct. They're going to be staying away from the boats that are underway. The kids in the dinghies and stuff.
Yep. I've kayaked around there myself. Yeah.
Councilor Lawler, thank you.
So, Brian, currently where you see the lighter yellow color, that's where they currently have the underground right now?
No, so, well, right here, they have approximately 6
Right.
acres. This is about 1.5 acres that they have for not floating gear. And so they occupy pretty much this whole cove right here in 2 separate leases. That's why they're 2 different shapes.
Okay.
So this whole area is floating gear. And so back in 2014, when they approved that site, there was concerns from the public and from the commission that people actually go through here. This is all good core hogging up in here. This used to be a little duck blind right there. It doesn't get used anymore. So anyways, there was supposed to be a channel that was left open here so you can go out here and go by Cedar Island there. And this is a popular core hogging spot too. So now all this gear's in the way and you can't get through. I was out there New Year's Day and you can't get through right now. Maybe that'll change, I don't know. But yeah, so they already have 6 acres of floating gear already.
Right. I just wanted to point that out. So this is in addition to the 6 acres that they currently have, that they're looking for
Correct.
more.
They're going for less than 1.5, but it's almost all of it, because if you look at that picture, it's just a blue slice that they're not requesting. But also, how they describe it in their application is, it's 6,000 feet of line. So it just seems like an awful lot of stuff, and then that's just going to push the people out for the safety problem.
Absolutely.
Brian, did you say they applied 3 times? This is the 3rd attempt?
Yes. So the first one was their first application for the lease, and it was granted, but with the pending the town's opinion of no floating gear. And then I think it was around 2020, I could find that out exactly, but it's roughly 2020 or so, they applied for floating gear, and the same objections were stated, that, the safety and all that. And now it's essentially the same application, except that little blue triangle being omitted.
Thanks.
Okay. Councilor Ferrandi, I don't know if you have any questions or are you all set?
Yeah, I just have one observation. I think it's critically important, being with the proximity to that channel and whatnot, that it definitely needs a second look or some, letter of just explaining that it's a difficult area to put that gear in.
Thank you. I know, yeah.
All right.
I know I enjoy boating on the pond, so I know, and I know a lot of others do, and I know that would impact it. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? Dr. Alba?
Might be one of your Quahog spots there, Eva.
I know.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. First of all, I'd like to thank that gentleman for doing an outstanding job with his explanation. And I support the council to consider writing a letter of objection. We all know that CRMC at Champlin's Marina and Block Island New Shoreham area, they were going to allow them to expand the Champlin's Marina to twice the size until the Attorney General stepped in to stop it. So a lot of times these state agencies, CRMC, RIDEM, they're out of touch. They have their own political agenda, and sometimes it's for nefarious reasons. So I think we have to take a stand on this. And as many people spoke out earlier today, let's take a stand on Galilee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will read the motion again. It's a motion to authorize staff to write a letter of objection to CRMC requesting a public hearing relative to the installation of floating aquaculture gear at 1 Jonathan Island. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Siciliano Bonano, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passes 5-0.